And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hello everyone, Meteorologist Grant Smith here, a guest from WFO Juneau, here to bring you your aviation weather outlook. As far as what we're looking at for Wednesday and Thursday, there'll be two main areas of concern we'll be focusing on. First area is a low pressure that will be moving from north to south along the west coast, with a secondary low moving from south to north into the Gulf of Alaska. These two areas are going to be the main concerns for aviation. So for Wednesday morning, a wide swath of MVFR conditions are expected, but then as the day goes on, that low will deepen along the west coast, so we're starting to see a lot more IFR conditions there. Also, as that low approaches in from the south, seeing some IFR conditions in the Gulf of Alaska by Wednesday afternoon. And then for Thursday morning, that low will continue to deepen along the west coast, so we're still seeing a wide swath of IFR conditions along the west coast. And then as that low sits and spins in the Gulf, there you can see as that front will swing into the southeast, so we're going to see a lot more IFR conditions for Thursday morning. And then going into Thursday afternoon, still seeing that low sitting and spinning, so IFR conditions for south central and southeast Alaska. But for along the west coast, we actually could see some improvement going from IFR to MVFR along the west coast there and west coast. But the Aleutians, yeah, still seeing those IFR conditions. So for past conditions around Alaska, starting with Anaktuvik, IFR conditions improving to MVFR through Wednesday. For Adigan, IFR becoming an MVFR through the day on Wednesday. For Lake Clark and Merrill, generally MVFR conditions expected on Wednesday. As we go through the rest of these, rainy MVFR conditions expected, rainy pass MVFR conditions. For windy pass, yeah, still MVFR conditions expected there. For Isabel, could actually see some improvement, MVFR becoming VFR through the day on Wednesday. For Mentasta, MVFR becoming VFR, so improving conditions on Wednesday. For Tanita, MVFR conditions through the day on Wednesday. For Portage, MVFR becoming IFR conditions on Wednesday. Then as you exit the pass, they could kind of run into IFR conditions on Wednesday. And then for Chilkoot and White Pass, IFR conditions expected on Wednesday for those of you in the southeast. So for freezing levels, here's kind of what we're looking at. We got that low along the west, and then that low in the Gulf. So generally speaking, a wide area of freezing levels about 2,000 to 4,000 feet. Now the farther southeast you go, starting to run into some higher freezing levels, and same story here in the extreme western areas as well. And so for icing concerns, still the same two zones is what we're looking at, seeing some icing concerns. For the southeast and the south central, above 7,000 feet is what we're expecting icing concerns that considerable to moderate. And then along the west coast here, above 6,000 feet is where we're seeing that considerable to moderate level. So for wind speeds at the jet stream, there you can see the big trough of low pressure right there coming from north to south along the west coast, and then right into the southeastern region. Behind the trough, wind speeds around 100 knots or so, moving from north to south. And then for the southeast, about 100 to 125 knots. But farther north, much calmer conditions expected in northern Alaska. And then for 9,000 foot winds, there you can see that low will be sitting in Spain and moving to the south, but much lighter winds. It's the Gulf of Alaska that we're going to be seeing some stronger winds. On the front side, about 40 to 50 or so knots, but on the back side of it, much calmer conditions. And then for 3,000 foot wind speeds, still seeing that low staying and spinning about 40 to 50 or so knots. But one thing I want to highlight is the winds coming into the southeastern panhandle could be reaching about 30 to 40 knots there in the southeast. That's something we need to keep an eye on. These are for the 3,000 foot wind speeds. And then for turbulence, still highlighting those same two areas right there along the south central to southeast, considerable to moderate turbulence at surface to 6,000 feet. And along the Aleutians, similar story there, seeing some highlighted considerable to moderate turbulent conditions from surface to 3,000 or surface to 4,000 feet.